Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something every single one of us faces, but we rarely ever talk about it in a systematic way. I'm talking about raw, intense emotion in the workplace. Think of this as your personal survival guide for those exact moments when your brain is literally screaming at you to react, but your career absolutely requires you to respond calmly.
All right, I want you to picture it. The intense, daily stress and decision fatigue of a modern executive. You're managing complex teams. You are entirely responsible for the bottom line. Your inbox is an absolute disaster zone, and your calendar, well, it looks like a losing game of Tetris. That constant undercurrent of pressure is the perfect breeding ground for sudden emotional spikes. So we're going to follow a relatable narrative arc today. Just one single, high-stakes workday to see exactly how overwhelm takes over, and much more importantly, how you can systematically dismantle it.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the executive stress epidemic.
So, throughout any given workday, we encounter specific triggers that tempt us to react using our brain's default negative mental impulses. Our minds are actually incredibly predictable when they're under stress, pushing us toward habits that make our professional lives much, much harder. To counter this, we're relying on some direct clinical authority today. As the source material states, I'm a Harvard-trained psychiatrist, and this is something I teach every patient that walks in through my door. We are taking the exact tools taught in a clinical setting and applying them directly to your chaotic Tuesday afternoon. These are tested, biological overrides for your strongest feelings.
Moving right along to Section 2, processing workplace anger. Okay, so it's morning. You've had your coffee, and you're stepping into your first major challenge, the boardroom trigger. Imagine you are presenting a project you've worked on for months. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a colleague interrupts you, undermines your data, or maybe even takes credit for your hard work right in front of the executive team. Instantly, you feel it, right? That hot, sudden surge of intense anger rising up in your chest. Your heart rate spikes. You are furious.
Now, when you feel that anger, your mind's default programming is going to tell you to lash out. It desperately wants you to snap back, to send an absolutely scathing email, or to aggressively defend your territory right there at the conference table. But the actual clinical advice is a physical override. You have to move your body. Instead of acting on that verbal impulse, you need a physical release. Excuse yourself for just a moment, step away, and physically pace the hallway. Go take the stairs. You have to channel that sudden spike of adrenaline into physical movement rather than professional self-sabotage.
Which brings us to Section 3, navigating professional sadness.
You know, not every loss in business makes us see red. Some simply take the wind right out of our sails. Let's frame this through the lens of the lost deal. It's midday now. You get a phone call. That massive contract you've been nurturing for an entire year, the client just went with a competitor. Or perhaps that major promotion you were promised went to someone else. This isn't anger. This is profound professional disappointment. It's a heavy, sinking feeling of sadness.
Your mind's immediate instinct, especially in a corporate environment, is to hide that heaviness. You tell yourself to just slap on a fake smile for the team, push the feelings down, or artificially cheer yourself up by pretending, hey, it's no big deal. But the high-level psychiatric tool here is the exact opposite. You need to honor it and cry it out. You simply cannot process an emotion by burying it. The most efficient way through professional sadness is to close your office door or go down to your car and genuinely allow yourself to feel the loss. Honor the immense effort you put in, let the sadness run its biological course, and then, and only then, can you truly move forward with a clear head.
Next up is Section 4, rewiring executive anxiety. So, it's early afternoon. The sadness of the lost deal is processed, but a new pressure is looming. Right before a major quarterly review or maybe a really tough personnel decision, anxiety creeps in, and it brings its absolute favorite tool, catastrophizing. This is the mind's default habit of endlessly rehearsing what-if scenarios. What if the board hates my numbers? What if the market crashes next week? What if I get fired for this mistake? Your brain literally spins out into these worst-case scenarios, consuming all of your precious mental bandwidth.
To stop that anxiety spiral dead in its tracks requires a massive mental shift. The mind desperately wants to rehearse those what-if scenarios because it actually thinks it's protecting you by preparing for danger. But the clinical override is to consciously, deliberately force your brain to rehearse even-if scenarios instead. You're acknowledging the fear, yes, but you are immediately providing the solution.
And here is your mental anchor. Even if X happened, I will be okay because. So you actively rehearse this exact sentence. Even if the board rejects my proposal, I will be okay because I have 3 alternate strategies ready. Even if I lose this client, I will be okay because our pipeline is diversified. You are directly short-circuiting the catastrophe by reminding your own brain of your resilience and your capability. It's an incredibly powerful tool to use during moments of sudden corporate panic.
All right, getting into the late afternoon, Section 5, Overcoming the Rut.
As the workday really begins to wind down, you face one final, incredibly common emotional hurdle. You've navigated the anger, the sadness, the anxiety, but now you are just paralyzed. We all know this exact feeling. It's the notorious 3 p.m. wall. You're just staring at your monitor. You have reached absolute peak decision fatigue. You feel completely mentally stuck, unable to draft even a simple reply to a routine email. Your brain has just completely locked up.
When you hit this wall, your mind falls into a very specific trap. It tells you to passively consume more information. You start doom scrolling through news sites, reading random industry reports, or endlessly refreshing your inbox, basically tricking yourself into thinking the answer to your brain fog is out there in just one more piece of data. But the true clinical solution to being stuck is to switch gears entirely. You must create. You have to do something active rather than passive.
And look, when the source material says create, it doesn't mean you need to go paint a masterpiece. It means active, physical engagement. Create stick drawings on a notepad. Walk over to the break room and clean the dishes. Wash your office coffee mug. These simple, tactile, active tasks forcibly shift your brain out of passive consumption mode and unstick a high-performing mind. It literally reboots your system.
Let's pull this all together in Section 6, your daily emotional toolkit.
This is your ultimate summary. Honestly, I highly recommend taking a mental screenshot of this. We have survived the executive workday, and now it's time to consolidate what we've learned. This maps the 4 daily emotional triggers directly to their counterintuitive psychiatric tools. When anger tempts you to lash out, you move your body. When sadness makes you want to hide, you honor it and you cry. When anxiety pushes you to what if, you pivot directly to even if. And when feeling stuck tempts you to passively consume, you actively create or clean. It's a structured, incredibly reliable framework for emotional regulation.
The modern workplace isn't going to magically stop throwing high-stakes challenges your way. The triggers are guaranteed, but your reactions, well, those are entirely up to you. So I'll leave you with this question to reflect on. Now that you have this toolkit, how are you going to handle your next boardroom trigger? Will you let your mind's default impulses control your career, or will you use these clinical tools to step back, process, and perform at your absolute best?